All right, everybody. There are, and of course I drop it and go off camera so the camera has to refocus on everything. There are 4 of these at the end of the manipulator arms. They look to be machine guns. With the scale of this thing, they're far larger than machine guns. Now, on this one, I've drilled out one barrel and didn't another. The best thing I probably should do is replace them with brass tubing. But the problem there's problems because I lose the mounting base. And the mounting base, I haven't looked at the model itself to see if that mounting base right there is really critical or not. Super glue fixes everything, I know, but I'm being a little fuzzy. Now, one side's been drilled out, one side has not. If you catch it in the right light, you can see which one's been drilled and which one hasn't. There are cooling vents on the side. I'm not drilling those. I've thought about it. The plastic will get far too thin and it will break. And I don't even know if you could drill those in brass at the scale this is at. You probably could, but you would have to fill the brass tube with something first, like a styrene rod. That way the brass doesn't collapse as you drill it. And I'm not going to attempt it because, again, the plastic's just going to get far too small. On top of that, with one of them, I almost drilled out the side of the tube over here. I didn't. It's not bubbled or something. I just saw the stress starting to show on the plastic and quit. Okay? So I've got one left to drill out, and that's done. And along comes the biggest disappointment I've had in this kit so far. Here's one of the manipulator arms. Oop, off camera. There we go. Here's one of the manipulator arms. This is a shoulder joint. And my disappointment is, and I think some of you see it, this thing right here, and this seam shows up pretty major on the kit, has a major seam line running right along this shoulder joint right here. Okay? Both the left and right arms have it. Now, I haven't finished putting the arms together yet. I know there's a shield that goes there, okay? And I just don't like that big old seam running down the center of that thing, okay? And you can see it's on both arms. So there's my biggest disappointment with this kit so far. Now, the other fun I've been having is road wheels. This is basically a tank model, even though the tracks are fixed, and it has road wheels. So lots of fun pulling those off sprue and cleaning them and making them nice. Okay, those are ready for paint. The road wheels are ready for paint. This part's getting very close to ready for paint. The upper torso, you should have seen that in a video by now, is ready for paint. Let me pull that out. I got the upper torso done. Okay, it's here. It is ready for paint. I did a few mods on the side of it to clean it up, and I put some venting on the back of it because I thought it needed the venting there. Okay, just to add a little bit of detail that is otherwise missing. And this thing is not tiny. Not at all. If this was real life, it's like 3 or 4 stories tall. Building stories, it's pretty big. I mean, this is far bigger than a normal tank, although it looks like a normal tank right there. It's 144 scale, keep that in mind. So this is huge, because that's more like a 72nd scale tank. But anyhow, let me stop and get busy, because Thunderpaws is here to help, and his kind of help isn't the kind of help I need. So I will be back in a little bit. Let me finish drilling out that one arm. But we're getting close to paint time. I will talk to you guys later. Hello, everyone. Still working on the tracks. What I decided to do is add some detail to this. It was very plain on one side and not on the other, and that bothered me, so I just added a little detail. I didn't add much, but just a little, and sometimes that's all it needs. Okay? I don't want to overdo it. The other thing I'm working on right now is these vents in the back have no detail down inside them. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some styrene strip, this stuff. This is the exact same stuff I put on there. Okay? I am taking some brass mesh, this stuff, and I'm ironing the detail into the plastic. Now, some of you are like, that, I know some of you are thinking, that will never work. Well, it kind of works. Here is one, and I used some paper, and it was from a laser printer, and while you heat it, the laser print transfers. So keep that in mind. I was using paper as a heat pad. But if you look, right in here, I have the exact same detail as that brass mesh. Perfectly inscribed in that plastic. The plastic shrinks a little bit and it distorts, but I'm getting enough out of my ironing technique that I can line those vents and have a nice texture deep down inside those vents. Okay, and it's a clothes iron. I'm just using a clothes iron and putting the paper down, the plastic, brass mesh, and heating it for a count of 10 to 12. Okay, you can't do too much at once. First I was using long strips, and half the long strip comes out with no imprint and half of it has an imprint. So near the end I'm using shorter pieces, and they were almost fully imprinting. I should have enough now to cut, and I can cut this with scissors, it's thin enough, and place it inside there to give me the detail I want. So I'm going to do that real quick. And speaking of detail we want, we're going shaky cam for a second. We have a BB. It's not working. The camera will not focus. There it goes. BB is working on this wasabi. Okay. And we have a Miri. Anyone want to guess what Miri's working on? What Miri thinks she should be working on in this room?
The striking.
Yeah, well, she thinks we should have cereal puff snow on the floor. So we have cereal puff snow on the floor. Now she's busily trying to put her dog in the cereal puff can. And it fit. Now she's going to put a cord in there. So anyhow, I got to get busy because we're on limited borrowed time with this little kiddo in this room, and I know it. I'll be back later. All right, I have to give you guys some warnings when building manipulator arms. For most of it, it goes fairly well. All that went really well. Like I said in the earlier part of the video, I don't like this part of the arm right here. Everything looks good except for the joint where this part moves. That just looks cheesy. Okay? They should have done that better. What I'm talking about is the fine detail on this part. There's a seam line that runs along here. It's hidden fairly well because of the way the part goes together. And I used a pretty heavy clamp to hold it in place while the glue cured. And I did glue it. A lot of this is a snap kit. And there's some places I glued and some places I didn't. Because, well, Bandai snap kits are really good. What I'm getting at, though, is when you cut the thing from the sprue, all the sprue attachments, of course, are along the seam line. The worst possible place for them, for removing it. They should have been on the other ends, but I kind of understand why they did it and kind of understand why they didn't. Well, I really understand why they didn't. I don't know if anyone's caught it, but I made some mistakes on this one. Okay? And, well, I took my cheater glasses off, so I can't see it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's right there. What you need to do when you're building these manipulator arms is you need to put the part together first and then sand off the attachment points like I did on this one. And you get a much cleaner line than you would otherwise, because as you're sanding that, there's small little grooves around the outside of this thing. And if you sand too heavily, you lose the groove. Once you lose the groove, the detail starts blurring. I'm going to correct it by using some of my strip styrene and fill in the grooves, so this is now a raised panel instead of a lowered panel. And I think it'll look better anyhow to have it as a raised panel than a recessed panel. But anyhow, that's the biggest warning I got to give anyone who's putting this together, that seam line is in a very bad place, and if you remove the attachment points before you sand the part, you're going to destroy some of the detail. So you want to put the parts together, then sand, which seems counterintuitive, but it worked much better on this one than it did on this one. So I just want to let you guys know, and it looks like things aren't level on my table. So I just want to let everyone know I'm going to hide it by using some strip styrene, like I've been doing all along, okay? I'll be back in a little bit to show you the results. Well, everyone, I live in Texas. Most of you know this. Near Houston, we're about 80 miles north of Houston, 70 miles north of Houston. Houston's had a lot of flooding in the last while, and well, this is why. We've already had a tornado touch down close, about within 10 miles of the house. Today, there have been reports of one within 3 miles of the house. And, well, with it like this, I can't paint. Can't do any painting because I have to open the window to vent the fumes out. So there's no painting today. If I'm going to do any model work, it has to be something else, which is okay. I expected this to happen occasionally. But we've been having days like this like every other day for 3 weeks now. Good thing I live at the top of a hill. You can see it slopes down towards me. I'm not going past where I am. I'm already getting wet where I'm at. But you can see it slopes down towards me, and the backyard slopes down quite a bit more than that. Any flooding we're going to have will be through the front door, and you can see the water flows away from the front door. So we're not going to really have flooding being at the top of a hill. And it's a good hill, too. Just wow, most of us are getting sick of rain every day.